In this video, I'm going to show how to make a paper rocket, which looks like this, out of this template. Now, to begin with, we ask the people who are making rockets to create a design on their rocket using just magic markers here. And I'm going to create this design. All right, there's my rocket. So that's step number one. And you're only designing or coloring in right here. And you can even see the directions that say color in this box. If people color in over here, it will be not seen. Step number two, which will be here, it says, do not cut any solid lines, but using scissors, cut the tail fins. And there are dotted lines here. Let me just cut like that and like this. It is not uncommon for young people to start cutting all kinds of lines, but we only want them to cut the dotted lines. Next, we're going to use this 1/2-inch PVC pipe. It has some aluminum foil tape around it to make it a slightly larger diameter. Then I'm going to turn this over, and this is the hardest part for young people, is putting this around, wrapping this around the pipe. So I'm going to start with the design facing down, and then I'm going to, it says here, wrap this edge first. Start wrapping. Now, getting a nice snug fit is key to having a rocket that goes a long way. Now, you're going to notice that I have tape here, pieces of tape, all ready for me to use. If I leave out a whole roll of tape, what young people will do is just pull out a whole section of tape and try to put a piece of tape along, one piece of tape along this whole piece. And what invariably happens is the tape gets wrapped up and unusable, and they throw that away. The next thing you know, you're going through rolls and rolls of tape. So before rocket making happens, I start putting out pieces of tape about this long. And what I'm doing is taping up the entire edge, making sure there are no gaps, and really rubbing the tape in well. Again, this is hard for little hands, so sometimes parents help. And you know that you've done a good job when one, the rocket slides off the pipe, but also the rocket will not fall off on its own. Next, what we're going to do is these tail fins. I'm going to crease it on this line like that, and turn it over and get the second tail fin. And then we have to reinforce these two tail fins, otherwise they will rip. And the way I do that is I'm going to put a piece of tape here and go across here. I'm making sure not to put any tape on the pipe. Won't be using the pipe. Turn this over, get the next tail fin. Basically, this stabilizes the tail fin so the rocket can be used over and over again. Next, I'm going to slide the rocket along the pipe so that the pipe ends up at this line. And you can kind of see, I just usually stick my finger in here to gauge how far down it is. And then I'm going to take my thumb and bend this over and keep bending all the pieces until the top is closed. I like to turn the pipe over and push down so that this is nice and flat. then we have to tape the top shut. This is critical. If you don't do this, the rocket will not fly. There we go. You can sometimes put a little more tape on there than just the 2 pieces I did. Then you can slide the pipe out. And there's one last step that I do not have on a big board that shows all the steps in picture form. And this last and final step is not listed in here. And this last step will double or triple the distance that this paper rocket will fly. So let me show you how I do this. I hold this in my right hand, and I'm going to take my fingernail, my thumbnail, and I'm going to put a slight bend, 45-degree bend, at the end of the tail fin. Then I'm going to rotate it, the rocket, and then I'm going to put another 45 bend in there. Let's see if I can show you what that looks like. So these are not 90 degrees, just 45. And if I turn it over, you can kind of see how this works. So when this takes off flying, what those little flaps will do will cause this to rotate much like a football when it's flying, and it will double or triple the distance that this paper rocket will fly. Okay, one last thing. So this paper rocket is done. It's ready to go onto the launcher and be used over and over again. And occasionally I will have students put on, or rocket makers put on, a nose cone. Now this nose cone I don't always use, but I have templates here. This I cut out of here, and here's how this works. I'm gonna bend on this dotted line and then sort of bend it back out, bend on this dotted line, keep doing this. Now this nose cone is not needed for the rocket to fly well. It can improve the distance slightly, but not markedly. But sometimes people like to make nose cones. So what I'm going to do at the end here is I'm going to get some tape. Is I'm going to overlap the final 2 pieces like that. See if I can show that here. Then put tape on. Now to put this on the rocket, I have to get some tape ready. It's a little tricky, and so what I'm going to do is just put this on like a little hat. It barely slides on, and the trick will be, for many people, is making it the nose cone straight. Some people, little kids, will put their nose cones on like that. That's not good. So you want this on straight. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. So there is a rocket. Now, the difference in flight capabilities between this rocket with a nose cone and this rocket without a nose cone it's minimal. However, some kids like to put a nose cone on. There is a danger with the nose cone because some kids will want to catch the rocket as it's flying back down to Earth, and if they're not careful, they could be looking up and get hit in the face or the eye. The other thing is that nose cone is not going to last very long. Once it flies up in the air and lands on the ground, it takes a beating. So if you have kids or rocket builders put the nose cone on, they might need to make several of them. However, this rocket right here with no nose cone is super durable, especially if it's built well and the tail fins are nice and strong. I usually keep some tape in my pocket if I'm running this activity, just to help build strengthen the tail fins. Now, one common mistake in building this rocket is the tail fin bend that I described earlier. What a mistake that will happen sometimes is that both of the tail fins will be bent in the same direction. I'll show you what the wrong way is, what that is. So these are both bent in the same direction. If I can show you. This will make the rocket fly extremely poorly. So you have to get this correct. I'm gonna do a little better on this bend here. Again, these are 45 degrees. And as the activity is going along, if there are rockets that aren't flying well, working on this right here will help immensely. All right, there you go.